My favorite DW setup, you mean configuration-wise? Mine.
Okay.
Mine.
I will post some pictures of it.
Yeah. I like to play with 2 bass drums for sonic reasons and for the feel and the response of each drum. I like to play 2 bass drums because I prefer hearing the sound come from the point where I'm actually striking the drum, where the impact is, you know. So when I step on my left foot, I don't want the sound to come from my right bass drum. You know what I mean, with a double pedal.
You really want to.
I really want to hear the sound where I'm hitting the drum, you know. It's the same with every other drum, so it's weird when you play your left foot and the sound comes from the bass drum on the right. One of the reasons also, sonically, it's just, you know, a lot more powerful to play with 2 bass drums. So I like 2 bass drums. I like to experiment with snare drums. I use different snare drums all the time. Today I'm using an Edge snare drum, but my favorite snare drum out of the whole DW collection is the titanium snare drum.
Okay,
I use that all the time in the studio, live as much as I can. It's a beast of a drum. It sounds amazing. I also like aluminum shells, the 1 mil rolled aluminum shells. I think they're fantastic. I have some, you know, copper drums that are very good. But I also like wood drums. Like I said, I experiment a lot. I use different drums all the time, but my favorite would be the titanium. I like to use 1 rack tom at the moment. I'm not a big fan of tom-toms.
Yeah, you already say that last night. Or yesterday.
You know, small tom-toms just don't turn me on.
Yeah.
You know, and they never really did. I used to play maybe 2 rack toms, or before that I experimented with 3 and 4 just because it looked cool. But I'm not really.
Looks aren't everything.
Yeah, and they're not everything, exactly. And you know, that sort of pseudo melodic array of drums, you know, like ding dong 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 dong, kind of that scale, is not my thing with tom-tom sounds.
Yep.
For that purpose, for the melodic stuff, I use the rototoms, which are the 4 rototoms on my left. I get that melodic component from those. And from tom-toms, I just need 1 rack tom, if at all a rack tom. I could just do you know, floor toms too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't miss the rack tom at all. But I just put it there for looks, and because, you know, it's obviously for certain things that I play, you want sort of traditional movements and motions and have that kind of rack floor kind of setup. So I keep it there. But that means usually I play 1 rack tom. I play 2 floor toms, 16 and 18 usually. A 13 or a 12-inch rack tom, so fairly large rack tom too. I don't like the smaller sizes. And I use 4 rototoms. I like gong drums very much. Usually, I mean, I have one here. I don't have it set up right now, but I like to also use a gong drum on my left.
Yep.
I really like gong drums. They really turn me on. That's awesome. A gong drum, a snare drum, and a bass drum. I could do a whole show with that. That's all I need.
That's nice.
Yeah. And I like to play 2 hi-hats. I play 2 hi-hat stands, one on my right, next to my right bass drum pedal, and one to my left, next to my left bass drum pedal. So I like to have 2 hi-hat sounds for, you know, creative options.
Yeah.
I also often play a bridge to do 2 pedals, play both bass drum and hi-hat pedal at the same time to get additional sounds. And that's pretty much it in terms of drums. And I have a few toys. I have a foot snare drum, also usually on my left, and a Meinl crasher that I use. I use the DW 9000 pedals. Here on my kits in Europe, I have mainly 9000 series. In the States, I have MCD pedals everywhere. I love those. They're incredibly smooth and light, and they just feel great. That's my new favorite pedal for sure. Okay. I have a bunch of MDDs also, but I prefer that old school feel of the chain. So I use the MCD pedal, and also all the hi-hats, MCD hi-hats. And that's it, really. And then a bunch of cymbal stands.
Yeah.
You know, I use all 9000 series, or at home on my kits and my studio stuff, I use racks.
Yeah.
But I'm just a big fan of all the 9000 series hardware. It's just amazing. Pedals and hardware, just absolutely top. The very first impression was, wow, look at those crazy wraps and colors, like in the early 80s.
And you know where?
Yeah, I remember going to Manny's in New York, a drum shop in New
Yeah.
York, which is no longer there, unfortunately, on Times Square, and seeing a bunch of stacked DW kits. And I loved Camco drums. Just the look, the turret. I always found that the turret lugs very sexy looking and cooler than anything else out there.
Yeah.
I was never a fan of any other like weirdly teardrop shaped whatever lugs. I thought that the round turret lugs were really, really cool. And when I first saw those DW kits, I thought they were Camco kits because obviously it's the same turret, same look. And I was blown away by the crazy wraps. At the time, they had really weird, super colorful, crazy, finish plies. And that's when they first kind of got onto my radar. And I saw the DW badges and was like, okay, that's different and new. What is
That's
that? I don't
strange.
know this. Yeah, exactly. So, but then that was my first DW experience. And I remember playing one of the kits at Manny's at the shop that was set up on the floor. And I remember the really low, very kind of saturated bark of the drums. My advice is be the best you can be on your instrument. I mean, and I really mean sort of look at an international standard of what's considered to be, great skill. Don't look around you and your local town and city. Aim for the highest possible level of playing, and always compare yourself with the best of the best out there, and try to reach that kind of level of playing if you want to compete in the music industry at some level of capacity. It's very important today, like it always was, to be just great at your instrument and have absolute command and skill and have the freedom to not worry about technique or anything like that, but be able to worry about the music, and serving a song, interacting with other musicians, paying attention to details around you. What's this guy doing? What's that guy doing? What's the sequencer doing? What's the mix like? How does this tom sound? And so on. Rather than, focusing on timing or technique or what's the sticking on this drum fill. You know what I mean? So be the best you can be. And then, in addition to that, you have today, you have to wear many other hats as well. You have to be a good self-promoter. You have to use social media very well. You have to be able to know a little bit about web design. You have to know a little bit about video editing. Definitely have to know about audio recording and editing. You have to learn software, audio software. You have to be able to be an engineer, a little bit of a producer and arranger. It's great and very important to play another instrument, so you can also write and contribute to songwriting and publishing and so on. And just be an all-around musician, not just drummer, but musician / producer / video editor / web designer / concert promoter. You have to do pretty much everything today, and it's important to start early, I think. Keep always music first, drumming and whatever your instrument is. Make that a priority. Always keep at it, keep practicing, keep growing, keep evolving and developing new ideas, and always keep reaching for more skill, innovation, musicality, and so on. But at the same time, don't forget that this is also a business, and if you want to turn it into a business, you have to learn about all these business aspects and start informing yourself and learning, like I said, software and sequencing software, recording software, and all those kind of things. Very important today.
Thomas, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you. I'll see you next time.
Yeah,
Thank
see
you,
you
guys.
next time. Bye.